hurricane season. And we do know that the forecast and models show it coming over the Hawaiian Islands, and we do anticipate significant wind, rain, flooding impact, as well as a storm surge along the east-facing shores, whether it's a direct hit or not. I've had the opportunity to speak with the FEMA Administrator Pete Gaynor yesterday, and we discussed the progress of Hurricane Douglas, and I think most importantly made a commitment that we would respond as one team of federal, state, and county emergency managers working together in order to protect the health and well-being of our community. I've been in discussions with the mayors in our county in preparation for Hurricane Douglas as it approaches the state. Yesterday, I signed a state emergency proclamation pre-landfall so that we would be able to position state resources and personnel to clear streams and prepare to clear road debris and other preparations in anticipation of Hurricane Douglas. I am prepared to activate additional National Guard personnel as necessary to respond to those activities in support of preparations for Hurricane Douglas. And this is in addition to National Guard personnel already activated in response to COVID-19. We do know that homeless individuals are especially vulnerable. State and county and private sector partners are working to identify and do outreach to homeless individuals to ensure that they have shelter if necessary, and that we can provide for their needs. I just would want to ask all of you to prepare and go to the HIEMA website and look at their 2 weeks ready list of all of the provisions that you should have in your emergency preparedness kit. And that includes food and supplies, any prescription medication that you would need for 2 weeks. Part of the plan should include a family communications plan so you can stay in touch with your loved ones. And we can't forget in this COVID-19 environment that you should have a face mask, hand sanitizers, and sanitizing wipes, in addition to the regular provisions in your disaster and emergency preparedness kit. I would like to remind everyone who is in quarantine that you should remain in quarantine to the extent possible. If you need supplies, please ask a friend and others to provide and help you acquire them. As a last resort, if you need to, you can break quarantine to get the needed supplies as necessary, but please, we ask you to maintain physical distance, utilize non-contact retail transactions to the extent possible, curbside pickup and other mechanisms so that you can maintain physical distance and reduce the ability to infect others. We should ask you, and we will be asking you, to shelter in place. But should you feel that the current location is not safe, please seek help in an emergency shelter. You should stay tuned to official sources of information. I do know that during these emergencies, there is a tendency for misinformation on social media. I want to encourage you to tune in to your county emergency management agencies as the best source for emergency alerts and notifications. The Hawaii Emergency Management Agency will also be posting forecast information and other alert information. You can also tune into the federal agencies, NOAA and the Central Pacific Hurricane Center will be posting forecast information. The National Weather Service is also posting on a regular basis an update on the progress of Hurricane Douglas. And most importantly, please identify the emergency alert system AM radio station that will be utilized to provide additional emergency updates as necessary. Please make sure you're prepared, wear your masks, keep 6 feet apart, please, and help your family prepare for Hurricane Douglas as it approaches. We know that we can be resilient, and when we work together, we emerge from these emergencies stronger as a community. So please take care of yourself, take care of each other, and most importantly, help to take care of our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. Our next speaker is Mayor Michael Victorino, Maui County. Mayor, can you hear us? We can see you. Mayor Victorino, can you hear us?
Yes.
There you go. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I could not hear you. I'm sorry. Thank you. And to further elaborate for the people of Maui County, for which right now the present tracks that are being looked at, we may have the major impact as far as flooding and high winds. Also, the other aspect of probably having being disconnected, especially to our community in the east, Hana, in the Hana district. So we're trying to prepare to make sure that as this storm passes, if it does do or does affect us the way we were anticipating, that all the proper positioning of assets and personnel have been put in place. We're opening up shelters effective Saturday evening, if necessary, earlier, and to make sure that the people have the confidence that we'll be able to take care in this pandemic, the social distancing, as well as the necessary emergency services that we normally provide when threats like this occur in the islands. So Maui County stands ready to do what we need to do. I want to thank the National Guard, our police department, our emergency responders, and the Red Cross for helping us put this together, along with the EOC, the Emergency Management Group, that has made everything possible for the people of Maui County. All I ask is, if as much as possible, shelter in place, make sure you have the supplies, as the governor has mentioned, along with sanitizer and face covering, and be prepared to evacuate if necessary. Other than that, sheltering in place. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Mayor. Our next speaker is Luke Myers, Administrator, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency, HIEMA. Mr. Myers, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. We urge the state of Hawaii residents and visitors to really know the hazards where they live, work, and play. Obviously, we're dealing with a number of situations with COVID-19 and with a hurricane approaching us. We know that things are going to get wet, things are going to blow, and things are going to slide. So knowing the hazards in your area is extremely important. Now is the time to understand how you can get communications information from the county that you live in to get that refined emergency alert information, to test those plans, and to make sure those kits include all the items that are needed. Especially in this situation, we may experience some power outages, so having an all hazards radio is very important to get public information. Most importantly, we want all of you to take the time and really understand, do your neighbors need help, and other ways that you can support your community. We have a resiliency here in Hawaii, and it's very important that you all take the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is John Ravender, Warning Coordination Meteorologist with the National Weather Service. John, you there?
Yep, thank you. Douglas is a Category 3 major hurricane. It had a peak intensity of a Category 4 and has begun gradually weakening. We expect that weakening trend to continue as it approaches the state. However, hurricane force conditions are still possible with this track. Right now, it's just under 800 miles east-southeast of Hilo and moving to the west-northwest 18 miles an hour. This speed will continue over the next couple of days before eventually taking more of a westward turn and decreasing slightly in speed. We're only talking a slight decrease in speed here. We're not expecting a slow mover or a stall like we has seen in the past. But even with this motion coming through, there's still the possibility of intense heavy rainfall, that significant amount of rain, and also a significant rainfall rate. And as fast as the rain could come in, we could see flash flooding and landslide problems, life-threatening. Already beforehand, we could be seeing an increase in very large, damaging, destructive surf coming in across east and south-facing shores. And with that, with the approach of the tropical cyclone itself, a significant amount of wind and potential for damage from that. Right now, the track has it passing very close to Maui County, but 3 days out, our average air is over 100 miles. 2 days out is about 80 miles. Especially with an approach from this direction, a slight shift in track could bring worse conditions to any part of the state, really. So residents across the island chain should take the next 2 days to prepare. Weather is clear today and tomorrow, and conditions could start deteriorating by Saturday night. So take the next 2 days to do as everybody has mentioned on this call, prepare and get ready for any impacts you might see from Douglas.
All right, thank you so much, John. Our next speaker is Veronica Verde, External Affairs Officer, FEMA. Veronica, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Good afternoon. FEMA's been in close communication with Hawaii Emergency Management Agency and Hawaii Governor as we monitor closely the track of Hurricane Douglas while preparing to support the state of Hawaii and all the counties. We've taken proactive actions prior to landfall to ensure life-sustaining federal resources and teams are in place. In addition to the FEMA staff that's already in place for the COVID-19 response, FEMA Region 9's Incident Management Assistance Team, also known as IMAT, the Urban Search and Rescue Team, and additional support team with more than 50 personnel are deployed to Hawaii right now in support of Hurricane Douglas. FEMA liaison officers will also deploy to Hawaii, Honolulu, and Maui counties before Hurricane Douglas arrives. We have a FEMA distribution center on Oahu that has meals, waters, cots, blankets, emergency generators, tarps, and also plastic sheeting if needed. There's generators, food and water in both Maui and Hawaii counties at this time. And as I mentioned, we've deployed the Urban Search and Rescue personnel, and they do have swift water rescue capabilities to both Maui and Hawaii counties. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Prime Power Battalion, already in Hawaii County for training purposes, is ready to support emergency power needs through the storm's landfall. We have a FEMA emergency communication team that's in place to assist responders at all levels of government with radio, satellite, and data communication needs if existing phone, internet, and cell services are disrupted. We continue to coordinate closely with other federal response partners, including the U.S. Coast Guard, the Environmental Protective Agency, the Departments of Agriculture, Defense, Energy, Transportation, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Health and Human Services, and other agencies to ensure federal support is comprehensive and coordinated. All Hawaii residents and visitors should follow closely all local emergency guidance. Now is the time to know where to go and what to take and how to safely shelter in place. Individuals should refresh their emergency supply kit with non-perishable food and water while respecting COVID safety measures. We encourage residents to check on all family members and neighbors who may need help finalizing preparation. State and local authorities always lead disaster response, and FEMA and federal responders are ready to help. Let's watch closely and take Hurricane Douglas danger seriously. Now is the time to finalize preparation, help each other, and stay safe from the hurricane. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of our speakers. We'll open it up to questions now from the media. We ask that you stick to the topic of Hurricane Douglas, and please direct any unrelated COVID-19 questions to the Joint Information Center or to the Department of Health. We also want to remind you that we have Major General Kenneth Hara, Adjutant General State of Hawaii, as well as U.S. Coast Guard, as well as Captain Rex Avani with the U.S. Coast Guard Sector Honolulu with us today to also field your questions. And with that, we'll start with our first reporter, Ashley Mizuo from Hawaii Public Radio. Ashley.
Hi, thanks so much. So my first question is probably for the HYEMA folks. We've been asking for months. I know that this we're trying to stick to on-topic questions, but Mayor Caldwell has been asking for months about triggers, about being able to pull back to more restrictions regarding COVID. Do we know if those will be issued, and how will the hurricane affect that?
I believe this is for Luke Myers. If this is for HYEMA, Luke.
Yes, from a state emergency management perspective, we've been working with Incident Commander Har and Governor Ige and the elected officials on a number of triggers related to COVID-19. Obviously, with a major hurricane approaching the islands right now, our primary focus is life safety issues with the potential tropical system impacting the islands. We've had several meetings this week specifically working on the health-related criteria to COVID, and we will be addressing this next week with some additional meetings once we get by the initial impacts from Douglas.
All right, thank you very much. Our next reporter is Audrey McAvoy, Associated Press. Audrey.
Yes, hi. This is a question. Oops, sorry. Okay. Oh, sorry. This is a question for Mayor Victorino. I'm wondering if Maui County plans to have more shelters open this year than past years because of the social distancing requirements of the pandemic. And if so, could you give us an idea of how many more there might be?
I could not get the question. It came in very broken up.
Mayor Victorino, she asked, would you have more shelters open because of the physical distancing and social distancing requirements in the COVID-19 environment? And if more, how many more have you identified?
We have two dynamics at this point. One is personnel from the Red Cross, which has, and even in Oahu and many other areas, is extremely low at this point. Many of them are not participating this year. And so that's made it very difficult because of COVID-19. So we're opening up as many shelters as possible in the different districts. And we'll be at almost the same number, but with a lot less capacity because of the fact of physical distancing. However, we feel very confident that what we have available and the personnel that we can bring in will be able to handle the numbers here in Maui County, especially since visitor numbers, which is usually the ones that fill up our shelters initially, will be very low. And so we're confident we have enough to take care of the needs of the people of Maui County.
I certainly would like to just add my suggestions for anyone who is interested in serving as a volunteer in any of the emergency shelters. As Mayor Victorino has said, the new requirements under COVID-19 mean that the shelters, the existing and previous shelters can accommodate significantly fewer residents who need to be sheltered. If you are interested in serving as a volunteer, please contact your American Red Cross Hawaii office. They continue to seek additional volunteers so that we can have the people to staff the emergency shelters all across the state. So whatever county and island you live on, certainly we need additional volunteers in each and every county.
Thank you very much, Governor and Mayor. Our next reporter is Nina Wu, Star Advertiser. Nina, can you hear us?
Oh, hi there. Yes, hi. This is Nina from the Star Advertiser. I was just thinking, in a worst case scenario type of situation, say there is an outbreak, a COVID outbreak at one or more of the shelters. Of course, I guess we'd need to know testing, but say there was a confirmed case at one or more shelters at a time. Is there a plan in place for how to deal with that type of situation?
Yes, we do have plans on what occurs should there be a COVID positive resident or person in any situation. The Department of Health does respond quickly. We identify others who may be exposed and close contact of the individual, and certainly would be working to isolate them as quickly as possible. The Department of Health also does have available hotel rooms for isolation. So should there be a COVID positive resident in a shelter, we would look to move them and separate them and isolate them as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Governor. Our next question goes to Jen Boniza, KHON2. Jen, are you there?
I think you need to unmute yourself.
She's unmuted. Jen, go ahead. Okay, well, while we figure that out, we're going to move on to Stephanie Salmons, Hawaii Tribune Herald. Stephanie, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Considering, so I don't know if this would be for the governor or for HIEMA, but considering the record number of COVID cases today, yesterday, what are your concerns about how, if people have to go into shelters, what are your concerns about how this might affect the COVID-19 rates in the states? What safety measures are going to be in place to help control those numbers?
We have implemented new procedures in all of the emergency shelters across the state. We've implemented physical distancing standards to ensure that all of those who are in a shelter maintain a minimum of 6 feet of distance between them and any other who would be in the shelter. As we said, that has dramatically reduced the number of people that we would allow at any given shelter. And all of the counties have been working to identify additional shelter spaces. Again, we ask residents who would be seeking shelter to include in their list of equipment that they are taking to the shelter face masks, hand sanitizers, and sanitizing wipes as part of their emergency response kit. We are implementing increased sanitation and cleaning requirements in each of the emergency shelters to minimize the risk of infection for those who are at the shelter.
Thank you very much, Governor. We're going to try Jen Boniza again, KHON2. Jen, can you hear us this time? Jen Boniza. I know she's unmuted on my end. Okay, we're going to move on. All right, the next reporter is Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now. Daryl.
Good afternoon. Can we clarify what the status is for the people who are in voluntary quarantine, the ones who have been recent arrivals? Are they able to leave? You urge them to stay, but have you changed the orders so they can no longer be prosecuted if they're caught outside their homes or the hotels where they're staying?
No, everyone subject to quarantine continue to be under quarantine. We do recognize that they would need to get access to supplies during this pandemic. If they are in quarantine, they should have made arrangements for delivery of food as necessary during their quarantine. If they are unable or they don't have sufficient supplies, then they will be allowed to leave the quarantine site specifically to acquire what they need, and then they would be required to return to the quarantine site. If they believe that the quarantine site is not safe for any reason, then they should contact the Department of Health or other emergency responders or get to a shelter location so that they can be safe.
Thank you, Governor. And reporters, we ask that you let us know who you are directing your questions to before you state your question. Thanks so much. Next reporter, Marcel Honore, Civil Beat. Marcel, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I believe this is for Luke Myers, if not some other state official. But I was curious about any efforts that you guys have made to establish agreements with any of the hotels. I mean, I'm thinking Waikiki, but this could be statewide as well, particularly given, the level of vacancy right now. And it doesn't look like anything is in place there, but I was just wondering if you could give maybe a status effort on any efforts to use those vacant rooms as a shelter space for more physical distancing.
Yeah, regarding the sheltering capacity and leveraging the vacant hotels, we do acknowledge, obviously, there's a capability there. We have had conversations with the counties and HTA and the governor's office and Incident Commander Hara on trying to leverage those capabilities. At this time, none of those have been formalized. We do have some specific agreements with the Department of Health to some of their existing contracts that we can leverage, and we work closely with them in the counties as the incident's unfolding to implement those.
Thank you very much, Luke. Our next reporter is from KITV4. Not sure if it's Robert Kekaula. Can KITV hear us? Hi, Robert.
Governor, 55 cases of COVID yesterday, a new record 60 today. Are we at a point where we start having conversations or addressing what we should and shouldn't allow to do moving forward, i.e. travel, i.e. schools, etc.?
Robert, we're sticking to Hurricane Douglas right now. We'll get back to you if you have another question. Moving on to Max Dybel, Big Island Now. Big Island Now. Max Dybel, can you hear us?
Yeah, Jody, I can. Thank you. This is for John. John, how soon might we start seeing dangerous ocean conditions develop off of Big Island shores if the hurricane stays more or less on its current track?
Actually, one thing you'll want to worry about, even if the track shifts, Douglas is a very powerful hurricane now and has built up some very large seas. So we'll see some large damaging surf increase, even if the track does shift from now on. Looks like building through the day Saturday is starting to rise with the most damaging surf Saturday night carrying over into Sunday. So from a surf standpoint, you could see an increasingly dangerous day on Saturday.
Thank you very much, John. Kehao Cerezo, the Maui News. Kehao, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you so much. This is for Mr. Myers or the governor. I'm wondering, is there any concern that residents are not preparing for the hurricane due to crisis fatigue due to COVID? And is there anything that can be done to encourage readiness when residents are already very overwhelmed?
We certainly are, utilizing and getting the word out through the normal channels about being prepared for the hurricane. Obviously, we would appreciate the help of the media to keep people informed. I do know that we have seen many hurricanes come through our community, and the community has always responded in a responsible way to prepare for upcoming storms. We do note that there may be some fatigue in the community, but as the storm approaches, I know in the past that everyone's attention does turn to the storm and appropriate action is taken.
Did Luke Myers want to address that question?
Yeah, from a state emergency management perspective, I wholeheartedly agree with Governor Ige. We do have a real sense of resiliency here in the state. We've been through a number of hurricanes in the past, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, floods, windstorms, you name it. Obviously, COVID-19 has created some stress on the larger community here. But at this time, we do see the public getting prepared and ready for this hurricane and taking it very seriously. And that's very important with the threats that we're being faced with right now.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to go back to KITV, Robert Kekaula. Robert, can you hear us? KITV4.
Hey, Jody, thank you. Now I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Robert. Thank you.
Now, can we change the topic or are we staying on Douglas?
We're still on Douglas, Robert.
Okay, Governor, regarding Douglas and the order that you signed already, can we change the topic or are we staying on? We're
still on Douglas, Robert.
Sorry, Robert, I couldn't hear the question.
You got disconnected. Okay, we're gonna get back to Robert. We're gonna go and see if Jen Boniza is back. Jen Boniza from KHON. Are you there? Have you? Are you able to hear us? Okay. Well, with that, we're going to start our second round, and this is raise your hands, reporters, if you have any other questions. We'll go to Ashley Mizuo, HPR. Ashley.
Thanks. Can you estimate how many people can be accommodated in smaller capacity shelters statewide and what to do if the demand is higher than that capacity?
Ashley, you would have to go to the county sites. They have calculated what the maximum capacity at each shelter would be. Obviously, it depends on the size of the facility, but if you go to the list of shelters and ask the counties, they should be able to give you the maximum capacity in each shelter. We don't have a total of all of the shelters that are available at this time. I think you've heard from Mayor Victorino and probably Mayor Caldwell would state the same thing. We know that in this COVID-19 environment, we need to identify additional shelters because of the reduced capacity in all of the previous shelters that we've used. We are working to build that network. We are working with the Red Cross to expand the number of volunteers that we have. Because we know with the increase in the number of shelters that we would need additional volunteers as well. So both of those are works in progress, and you would have to go to each county to see the shelters identified and the capacities to be able to determine the actual total numbers that would be accommodated.
Thank you very much, Governor. Daryl Huff, HNN, do you have another question?
Yeah, following up on what the governor just said, Governor, and maybe for Luke Myers, why don't you have those numbers? Because it would seem that you have to trigger the National Guard or access to hotel space if indeed shelter spaces run short. How is it possible that you don't know or have a sense at the state level of what the capacity is of your shelters? Because you're ultimately responsible for being the backup to those counties.
You know, certainly, Darryl, we are backup to the counties. The counties are closest to the emergency, and always the counties have responsibility for the emergency response. We are monitoring the actual track of the storm and anticipating based on the forecast about those areas that would be most impacted. You know, for example, the east-facing shores are the shores that are most at risk. And certainly we've taken action to close the parks and the shoreline access in those areas. We are working with the counties, and they are developing the list of shelters. We don't have all of them at this point in time. And we continue to anticipate what the impact of the storm would be in identifying the number of shelters that would be necessary. Clearly, we continue to work with the counties in each county to identify the shelters needed and the number of volunteers and the total capacity. But we don't have that total at this point in time.
Okay, so to follow up, if I may, Governor, then, do you have the capability through the National Guard to quickly seize properties such as hotels if you have a real rapidly developing emergency?
We would have, I do have under emergency proclamations the ability to mobilize and make use of facilities as necessary. We would be monitoring the storm as it approaches, make assessments about the numbers of residents who would be in shelters, and identify additional shelters as necessary.
Luke Myers, did you want to add anything?
Yes, ma'am. As Governor Ige stated, sheltering is done at the county level. The state is in a support role. We have been working on a number of planning efforts with them to help coordinate and look at various impacts for different scenarios for each of our counties, depending on the strength of the storm. Obviously, we would want the residents to shelter in place, which is our primary message. And as a contingency, we look at those larger numbers as there were greater impacts.
Jody, this is General. I'd like to add to that as well.
Yes, go ahead, General.
So what Governor Ige talked about, he does have the power to, commandeer property. But in this case, we'd rather contract with the hotels and work with them as opposed to taking over. So I wanted to point that out. And then as we speak, at 2 o'clock today, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency is leading a shelter meeting with the counties. So we are coordinating with them.
Thank you very much, General Hara. Our next question is from Robert Kekala, who texted me his question. He asks, the new emergency orders signed by the governor yesterday to free up funding needed to related to possible impact made by the storm. How much money is available?
Certainly it authorizes emergency funds in all of the different agencies. Department of Transportation has access to emergency funds. Department of Defense, the National Guard has access to an emergency response fund of $5 million. So I think the actual amount of funds that are available in each department varies. But as also part of my emergency proclamation allows me to move any funds that the state has into appropriate areas should the need arise. So I want to assure you, Robert, that the state will have the resources necessary to respond to the emergency and keep our community healthy and safe.
Thank you, Governor. Kehao Cerezo, the Maui News. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is from Mr. Bravender. Considering we are in drought conditions in some places on Maui, what's your level of concern for brush fires due to high wind and less rain, which happened on Maui during Hurricane Lane?
That's definitely a concern. Outside of a hurricane, you can get sinking air, you can get drying air, and stronger winds picking up before the rain comes in. You referenced Hurricane Lane in 2019. There's also brush fires on Oahu with that as well. The one upslope for Maui from Lahaina forced evacuation of an evacuation shelter, and that's talk about a disruption. But yes, to get back to your question, yes, it is a concern, something to stay on top of, and it also becomes a concern as the hurricane approaches. After a wildfire, there's more potential for flash flooding or mudslides, debris flows, and damage from that afterwards as well. So the fire is a threat, and even flash flooding after the fire are both concerns that you might see with a system like this.
Okay, very well. We do not have any more questions. Governor, so if you would like
No, well, so thank you very much for being with us today. Really want to ask all of you to prepare for Hurricane Douglas. It is a powerful storm that is forecasted to affect the islands significantly. Stay away from east-facing shores, as we do expect storm surge as well as high surf. We do expect rain on the windward sides of the islands, beginning to impact the islands Saturday evening into Sunday. And so everyone, please prepare your preparedness kit. Add face masks, hand sanitizer, and sanitizing wipes to your emergency kits. Please shelter in place. Should you feel that your home is not a safe place to shelter, then please look for the nearest emergency shelter and bring all of the items that they are requiring you to bring as you go to the emergency shelter. And please know that if we work together, we can get through this Hurricane Douglas together and emerge as a stronger, resilient community. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself, help take care of each other, and most importantly, help to take care of our community. Thank you.